Hey everybody, Colton here, and as I am sure you have all already heard, the Avengers Doomsday plot leak that has been kind of kicking around the internet for a while now that I remember reading like months ago. John Campea, who claims that he and Robert Meyer Burnett have heard from reliable sources the full plot of Doomsday, he claims that this leak is accurate. It is what he has also heard. So I want to take a look at it. It's been a while since I've read this one, and I thought I would read it with you guys. I know this is a little bit different than what we usually do when I'm over on the set and all that, but I'm about to leave town. We're going out of state for a wedding. We're bringing the baby. It's a big thing. I just wanted to pull it up here, have kind of a laid back discussion about it. I was about to read through it, and I thought, hey, might as well record myself reading it and we can react to it and kind of talk about it as we go, right? The full plot description of Avengers Doomsday. Avengers Doomsday opens in NYC, New York City, on Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man's Earth. He is fighting Deadpool and Wolverine, who were sent there with a planet-killing bomb built by Beast to destroy Tobey's world in order to save their own universe from an incursion. Tobey battles Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, who manages to plant the device. Wolverine stays behind when it detonates, and both he and Tobey's Spider-Man, along with everyone on that Earth, are killed. Deadpool escapes and returns to his own Earth, which we see in the distance. Charles Xavier watches the destroyed world below with sadness, but they had no choice. We then cut to Tony's funeral. Okay, so let's stop right there. So that's the opening scene. I've said for a while that I think opening Doomsday with an incursion, showing actual universes that even general audiences can feel an attachment to with the OG Spider-Man, the OG X-Men. That automatically, like, take out the member berries and the fan service part of it. Yes, it's awesome seeing Tobey and Hugh as Spider-Man and Wolverine on screen together, but also what it does is it helps the story. It helps the overall film. It's not fan service for fan service sake. It is actually giving us the feeling of which we are supposed to be feeling in this moment of, wow, we just watched the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe and the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man that we actually just revisited in No Way Home and that he got sent back to with his villains and everything. We talked about in a recent video how apparently Norman Osborn, Alfred Molina, they are now no longer villains and they're alive following what happened in No Way Home with them getting cured, and then we're going to see them fighting Magneto. That all sounds awesome. But what we're seeing here is that universe that even general audiences can be like, oh yeah, I know that. Oh my God, it's destroyed. Oh my God, the universe from those old Marvel X-Men movies, it's been destroyed. It is the one that destroyed it, I mean. So it automatically introduces this whole concept of heroes having to do really horrible things, like deciding to destroy an entire universe to save their own, because their only other option was what? Let the collision happen and both universes die? So it introduces this whole like morally gray trolley problem type situation. And instead of doing it with characters from, just like kind of what they did with the 838, where it was just like this other universe with variants. It's actual universes that they're making, like the actual Marvel films that existed before the MCU into their own parts of this multiverse saga. So it just gives it all the more like oomph, I think, behind it by having like these actual characters there. All right, so I'll continue. Enough yapping from me. We then cut to Tony's funeral. So I love hearing that Doomsday, which is a direct sequel to Endgame, is going to kind of take place not at the same time as, but part like the beginning of the film will take place at the same time as the ending of Endgame. I like that. So we cut to Tony's funeral. Steve speaks with some of the heroes, including Ant-Man, before returning the stones. He then goes back in time and he chooses to stay with Peggy. They have a son named Jim, of course, named after James Buchanan Barnes, Bucky. One day, Loki visits them. This is before the Loki season 2 finale. He tells Steve about the TVA and warns him that they will soon prune this timeline because Steve was never meant to live there or have a son. Okay. Love Loki being there. I love the idea of them perhaps even including this scene in the in-game re-release. Keep the scene in Doomsday as well, but including this in the encore cut of in-game that will come out before Doomsday, I love that. I also think they should include Loki's TVA arrest from episode 1 of Loki in in-game, and I think that would be just an awesome way to catch everybody up to speed, remind everybody what they need to know. Maybe some people didn't see Loki or whatever. I think that all works really well. The one thing that kind of has me confused is it's before the Loki season 2 finale. So I'm wondering at which point, when is this happening? Because it says Loki offers to move them. Let me continue this real quick. Never meant to live there or have a son. Loki offers them a way out. He can take them to a universe where they don't exist and can live in peace. And he's talking about the Fantastic Four universe, Universe 828. And before leaving, Loki gives Steve a special card so he can contact him. He's saying the TVA is going to prune their reality. Well, when in the Loki series is this supposed to be happening? Is it supposed to be happening during that really long period of time where he's learning about how like quantum mechanics and all that works so he can fix the temporal loom? Is it happening during that? I'm not sure. I would be really curious to even know what he is wearing in the scene. I personally think it would have been cooler if we learn that it's like a projection of Loki and he's still actually sitting on the chair. And there's actually some things they're going to reveal about Loki in this leak that I hope aren't the case and I hope they change. But let me know your thoughts and theories on when exactly do you think this Loki bit is happening? I suppose it would make sense if it was when Loki is just working with the TVA. Because if it's really, when you mess with time and all that, it could be a Loki from any time coming in at that early part, during close to the same time as in-game. But maybe if you want it to be like when he is like becomes essentially a TVA agent, like working alongside Mobius, maybe that's when it's happening. We'll just have to see. So Steve and his family, they live in Universe 828 for 10 years. We then see Dr. Doom visiting Sue and Franklin. So the post-credit scene, Fantastic Four First Steps, which we knew was a scene pulled from Doomsday. So they clearly know each other. Doom says he has come to speak with Reed. He warns him about the incursions and reveals their universe is next. He proposes a plan, but they must travel with him to Earth 616. Doom also asks Reed whether it's possible that someone from another universe is living in their own. They scan the planet and discover an anomaly. Steve and his family. I think Doom already knew that someone was there, and I think he may have even known it was Steve, maybe. And he just needed to use Reed's tech, maybe, to find him. They confront Steve, who recognizes them, the Fantastic Four, after living in the universe for a decade. And, maybe the reason Steve has been able to not be Captain America is because in this universe, there have been the Fantastic Four there fighting crime and, keeping the Earth nice and safe, and Reed Richards and Sue with all of their advancements and world peace and all of that they're trying to achieve. So that's a universe where Steve was able to just kind of live his life. And so that kind of takes care of that whole, oh, well, did Steve really just live an entire life knowing Bucky was, in Hydra's hands and being used as the Winter Soldier and all these great atrocities going on? No, he was in a completely different universe where he didn't even exist. All right, so they explain the incursions to Steve, and they ask him to come to Universe 616, that's the mainline MCU, to help convince the Avengers to trust Doom's plan. So perhaps 828 is colliding with Universe 616 because that is the universe in which Steve is from. They travel there, and Steve successfully persuades the heroes to listen to Doom's plan. Next, they all visit the X-Men universe. So we see a team go from the Avengers universe to the X-Men universe, and we already know that that team lineup is what? Yelena, Sam, Shang-Chi, Thor, Steve. Am I forgetting someone? I don't think so. They explain the incursions and they ask them to come to 616, convince the Avengers. They go to the X-Men universe, but the X-Men are hostile. They have survived multiple incursions and trust no one. They assume the MCU heroes and the Fantastic Four, as well as Doom, have come to destroy them, and they attack. Okay, so that's this. So we haven't seen that scene yet. Apparently, some of that footage was featured in a trailer. So that scene happens, and then it says Reed and Doom explain their solution. So that kind of skips over. Okay, so then the fight happens. Then they must have a moment where they're like, wait, we're not here to attack you. Then they talk. Okay, so Doom says Reed and Doom say we want to build massive cannons on each Earth that will permanently separate the universes. So like that very fabric between universes. Which when erodes an incursion happens, but I guess the cannons would just completely separate them from even, kind of like how I think the Sacred Timeline was completely separate from the multiverse. It had that universe completely separate from all the others. I think that's what they're looking to do for each of their individual universes, to make them just their own thing that do not touch. So build massive cannons. They will permanently separate the universes and stop the incursions. They will split into teams, and each one will go to another Earth to place their cannon. Meanwhile, so while that is happening, while Reed and Doom, I guess, are talking with the X-Men, Steve tells Thor, hey, I met a Loki who is still alive. And Thor asks Steve to take him to him. Using Loki's card, they locate the TVA. So this is happening while Reed and Doom are talking with the X-Men and explaining their plan. So when Steve and Thor go on their little side quest to the TVA, they get there and everyone is dead. And Loki has had his heart ripped out. And they realize in that moment that Doom is responsible. Steve goes back to confront Doom, so in the X-Men universe, who then reveals his true plan to allow incursions to happen so that he can rebuild the multiverse in his own image and resurrect his dead family. It then says he takes Steve to his castle in Latveria, but I bet you that does not happen until Steve confronts Doom, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Steve gets him to admit his true plan, and that is when we will see, like we saw in the leaked footage, Doom initiates, his betrayal of all of them, activates the Sentinels, and we see the X-Men, the Avengers, and Reed Richards form together to fight off the Sentinels. And then, I guess, after that fight, Doom grabs Steve and takes him to his castle in Latveria on his Earth, so Universe 828. And there, Steve meets Doom's followers, masked witches. One of them impersonates Peggy to manipulate him. Doom then reveals that Steve's presence in their universe is what triggered the incursion, because he didn't belong there. It also led to the death of Doom's family. Doom became obsessed with stopping the incursion, conducting dangerous experiments, one of which failed, killing his family and leaving him disfigured, forcing him to wear the armor and mask. I love the idea. I love that they are going to show us that Doom was an obsessive tinkerer who just could not stop and had to solve these problems. I absolutely love that because it's so Tony. It's so Doom from the comics, but it's also so Tony. And we know that Robert Downey Jr. is playing Doom. So, killing his family, and he now has to wear the armor and mask. As revenge for this, Doom kills Steve's son right in front of him. Doom announces that the Avengers are coming. Okay, oh my God. So he kills Steve's son right there in front of him. And I guess he maybe has Peggy as well. And I'm guessing maybe Peggy and Jim stayed behind in Universe 828 while Steve went on this mission. And I also think it's possible that maybe Sue and Franklin stayed as well. Doom then announces to Latveria that the Avengers are coming, and Latveria prepares for war. The Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and the X-Men then unite and march on Latveria. Thor prays to Odin, who then sends an army from Valhalla to join the battle. So that is the scene we have seen from the trailer, that character trailer for Thor. A massive war erupts as the Earths begin to collide. Eventually, the universes crash into each other and they are destroyed, killing everyone. Oh my God. So we are going to see an incursion happening. The X-Men, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four have all gotten together. They charge on Latveria to stop Doom. So we are seeing a war between Doom and his Latverian army versus the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, and the X-Men as an incursion is taking place. And then the incursion goes through.
The war between Doom and his Latverian army.
Not talking to you. That just sounds awesome. So then a massive war erupts as the Earth begins. So an army from Valhalla comes down. Could that be where we get to see Loki again? Because I don't like this idea of them killing Loki yet again. It's a little much. It's become a joke at this point. I guess it's become such a joke to the point that you can do it again and it's forgiven. But like you already killed Loki so many times and you just had Loki die at the hand of Thanos in Infinity War and you've brought him back. And then you're just going to have him die again? Like seemingly off camera at the hand of Doom? I personally prefer the idea of when they go to the TVA, they find Loki, a depowered Loki, amongst all the dead TVA agents, maybe even like a dead B-15. I don't think you kill off a character like Mobius off screen. B-15, you know, she just appeared in Deadpool and Wolverine, so I could see her being a character that they've introduced as the head of the TVA, so maybe you do show her like gasping for breath, and that could be who Steve and Thor find, and she tells them what happened and that it was Dr. Doom. But I like the idea of Loki not being dead and just depowered. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So the Earths collide and eventually they crash into each other and everyone is killed. So I'm guessing just like there's this massive blast that just kills everybody. Everyone except Doom. It is then revealed that he stole Loki's powers. Using them, his powers, he creates Battleworld, resurrects everyone, and erases their memories. They believe Battleworld is all that has ever existed. We now see them living new lives in this false reality. Doom sits on his throne as the Emperor of Battleworld, or the God Emperor, I should say. The end. That sounds fucking amazing. This leak has been bouncing around for months. I saw this leak months ago. And just now, Campea and Burnett are saying, yeah, this is it. The only part of this that makes me go, is Loki yet again being killed. Off camera. Not big on that. But apart from that, it sounds fantastic. It sounds absolutely fantastic. The Avengers, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four, with a prayer from Thor to bring in an army from Valhalla, as they charge on Latveria. Sounds dope, man. All right. Let me know your thoughts and theories on all of this down in the comments below. What do you think of this leak? Do you think it's real? I'm inclined to think it is. Then again, this has been kicking around for a while, so things can change. There can be reshoots, there can be lots of slight changes. There's a lot of stuff that's not mentioned in here, but of course it is, because it's such a short rundown of just like the general plot of the film. There's very little nuance to it. So there's plenty of stuff that's not mentioned that you think would be mentioned, but I don't think that takes away from the credibility of it. I'm just interested how all this works. Like, who is it that Campea and Burnett heard from like different individuals that heard it from somebody that heard it from somebody that confirms this is the general plot, right? So we'll just have to, wait and see, I guess, see the trailer. Burnett and Campea saw the trailer at CinemaCon, and they said that it pretty much lined up with the leaks they heard, and this is that leak, so I guess we'll just have to see. I also like the idea that perhaps Wolverine and Spider-Man, Tobey's Spider-Man, I think will be immune to the memory wipe and perhaps landed in the void. And I think Battleworld will be in the void and accessible from the void, but perhaps like a kingdom within the void. And I think Deadpool and Wolverine Spider-Man and Wolverine, and maybe even Deadpool will be outside of that existence, outside of that kingdom, out in the wasteland of the void, and they could be part of like the resistance to overthrow Doom because they do remember the universe that came before, because they landed in the void when Tobey's universe crashed, or died rather. So, and that kind of sets them up to be the leads of Secret Wars, which I think would be really neat. All right. I'm going to go. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts and theories on all of this down in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I'll see you guys soon. I've been Colton Ogburn. Bye!